Hi, I'm Jake Minnick, the NC DWI guy, and today we are going to walk through the 5 steps that you need to take if your license is scheduled to be suspended due to an alcohol violation of your ignition interlock device. So if you get a letter from the DMV stating that your license is scheduled to be suspended because of a interlock violation, an alcohol violation of the ignition interlock, that can be extremely anxiety provoking. You can want to panic when you get that letter, but I'm going to give you 5 steps that you need to take in order to give yourself the best chance of avoiding a license suspension due to an alcohol violation. Number one, you need to request a pre-suspension hearing. Number two, you need to make notes about the violation date. Number three, you need to request your device logs from your ignition interlock provider. Number four, you need to prepare for your ignition interlock hearing. And number five, you need to attend your ignition interlock hearing. And we're going to go through all of those 5 steps in a little bit more detail. So number one, step one, you need to request a pre-suspension hearing. There is a driver's license hearing request form. It's HF-001 on the North Carolina DMV's website. You can request your hearing online. You can do it through the DMV portal. It's payments.ncdot.gov. You can request the hearing and pay for the hearing. It is essential that you request the hearing before the effective date of suspension, or you will likely lose the ability to contest the suspension based on the alcohol violation. So the most important step is to timely file that request for a pre-suspension hearing. If you get a lawyer involved on your case, a lot of times the lawyer can help you walk through the process of requesting that hearing and making sure that it is both timely and correctly filed. Step number two, you need to make notes about the violation date. I advise all clients that have an ignition interlock device to keep a notepad and pen in their vehicle in case there are any warnings or oddities that happen with their ignition interlock device, that they can immediately take notes about that. If you have not taken notes about the date of violation, then you first of all need to figure out what the violation date was, and that's one of the first steps I typically take when I get involved in an ignition interlock violation hearing, is to confirm with the hearing officer what dates are at issue. But you need to look back at your calendar and see if you can figure out what was going on, jog your memory, refresh your memory about what was going on at the time of the violation, and take as many notes as you can about that. If there was somebody else present, if there was something that you ate or drank that was out of the ordinary, if there was something wrong with your vehicle, if there was any chemicals that were in the vehicle, anything that you think potentially caused the alcohol violation, that is something that you want to have detailed notes about. Step number three, you need to request a copy of your ignition interlock log from your ignition interlock provider. This is going to vary depending on which provider that you are using, but depending on which ignition interlock provider has installed the device on your vehicle, they each have their own way of requesting a copy of their detailed logs that can provide extremely helpful information and insight about the violation date. And it is something that the DMV hearing officer conducting the suspension hearing is going to have at their fingertips. So you want to have the information that they're looking at prior to the hearing. Step number four, you want to prepare for your ignition interlock hearing. This is probably the most important step. You want to sit down, if you have a lawyer involved, and figure out what is the strategy for defending the case. What is the strategy for asking the DMV hearing officer to rescind the revocation, which means to basically not impose any type of suspension on your driver's license. An experienced DMV hearing lawyer will know what questions are likely to be asked by the hearing officer and what evidence might be helpful to present at the hearing to give you the best chance of keeping your license intact. Step number five, you need to attend your ignition interlock hearing. This sounds silly, but If you are late for or miss your ignition interlock hearing, you will have the suspension go into effect. Being late to a ignition interlock hearing, I have seen where that has, a client has shown up 30 minutes late to the hearing and the suspension has already gone into effect. If you want to guarantee that you will lose your license, the easiest way to do that is either A, to not request the hearing as per step one, or not show up for the hearing as we're talking about here in step five. At the hearing officer is going to ask questions of you and any witnesses that you bring with you to the hearing. If you have an attorney involved, they can also ask questions and then also give a closing argument as to why the hearing officer should not suspend your driver's license, and requesting that the hearing officer rescind the revocation, meaning that they allow you to have your license remain in full force and effect with the ignition interlock requirement if applicable. So you want to arrive 30 minutes at least before the hearing is scheduled to start, and it's critical to be polite with the hearing officer at all times during the hearing. If you have any questions about your alcohol violation from your ignition interlock device, the letter that you received from the DMV, the process for applying for or preparing for your ignition interlock hearing, please give us a call. We represent clients throughout North Carolina that are facing a ignition interlock alcohol violation and request a hearing on their behalf routinely.